Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in providing a warm welcome to our Chairman of the County, Commissioner Ed Eilert.
Too many wires up here, but that's all right. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Mike, for that introduction. Thanks to all of you for joining us today for the 2016 State of the County Address. And I just want you to know, I love Johnson County. I love Johnson County. I love all of you from Johnson County. I guess I've been watching too much TV, I don't know. I would like to express my appreciation to the Johnson County Public Policy Council for its support in coordinating today's luncheon. And I want to note, with the terrible events that have happened in Brussels today, please remember our international friends, and I know at least one city in our county has a sister city in Belgium, and the difficulties that they face in Europe are significant, and our best thoughts are with those communities and those individuals who have been impacted. The leadership of local chambers of commerce is to be commended for the support of our local businesses, and thank you to the businesses for the community that you're helping to make Johnson County a great place to live by generating jobs and boosting our economy, helping to create for all of us a community of opportunity. I would like to acknowledge my fellow commissioners who are here today. Would you please stand and be recognized as I call your name, and please hold your applause. Steve Klicka, who is Vice Chair and represents the 3rd District. Ron Schaefer, 1st District. Jim Allen, 2nd District. Jason Osterhaus, 4th District. Michael Ashcraft, 5th District. And John Toplicker, 6th District. I would also like to recognize District Attorney Steve Howell, Chief Judge Kevin Moriarty, and County Manager Hannah Zacharias for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. At this time, I would like to say a special thank you and recognize Sheriff Frank Denning for his 47-year career in law enforcement, especially his 32 years with Johnson County, including service as our sheriff for the last 12 years. His leadership and commitment have helped to make our great community better and safer. So please join me in giving Sheriff Denning a warm and much-deserved ovation for his public service and to wish him well as he prepares to drive off into future retirement. Frank, stand up, please. I would also like to make special note and thank Department of Transportation Secretary Mike King, who's here with us today. And he has a special guest, Wichita Mayor Jeff Longwell. Thank you for being here. Mayor, welcome. We're glad to have you in Johnson County. And our elected state and local government officials have earlier been introduced. Thank you for taking time to be here. I would like to make a special introduction of a Johnson County native, the reason a Sedgwick County farm kid came to Johnson County, a person who has stood by my side for the last 53 years. My wife, Jan, thank you, dear. As I begin my 6th year as county chairman, I have never been more optimistic about our future. We are fortunate to live in one of the nation's best places to raise a family, obtain an education, earn a living, and build a business right here, right now in Johnson County. That's exactly what 9 out of 10 people indicated in our 2015 community survey regarding satisfaction levels of Johnson County as a place to live, receiving a 96% rating. The national rating was 83% and only 76% in other communities with populations of more than 250,000. Government's first responsibility is protecting our people, ensuring safety in the streets and security in our neighborhoods. The survey again found 96% of our residents considered their neighborhood safe, compared to the national rate of 90% and large communities of 87%. A good, safe place to call home goes hand in hand with the excellent education being provided to our students. Our 6 public school systems have a combined graduation rate of almost 96%. That's 6% higher than the state's average and 10% better than the national average. I want to say a special thank you to our cities, our K-12 schools, higher education institutions, and our businesses and community partners. Together as a community, we have worked tirelessly to help advance our county to new heights of positive achievement, economic development, and opportunities for all. From our AAA bond rating as a local government to the county's enviable job growth as a local community, we have much to celebrate. Johnson County has long been and continues to be the economic engine for the state of Kansas. We remain a strong magnet for careers and job opportunities. As a county, our local economy is far outpacing the state and the nation. Our unemployment rate at the end of 2015 was 2.9%. That compares to the Kansas jobless rate of 3.5%, lower than the metro region of 3.9%, and lower than the national unemployment rate of 5.5%. Heading into the first quarter of 2016, Johnson County's jobless rate still remains lower than state, metro, and national levels. From 2011 to the end of 2014, more than 31,500 jobs were created in Johnson County as we continued to grow from the recession. During that 4-year period, Johnson County averaged almost half of the job growth in Kansas. During that same period, the second highest job growth was in Wyandotte County with 6,700 jobs. Johnson County employment grew at an annual rate of 2.3% during the first 3 quarters of 2015, according to the latest report by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Our county again led the state in private sector job creation with a net addition of 6,847 jobs. That accounted for 60% of the private sector job growth statewide. At the end of 2015, Johnson County was home to more than 22,000 businesses employing over 336,000 workers. According to the County Economic Research Institute, as a measure of our upward economy last year, nearly 11,000 single-family homes were sold. Compare that to the all-time record of 11,700 in 2005. Average sale prices for homes was $285,000, up 4.6%. More than 1,600 permits were recorded for new single-family homes, and almost 1,700 permits issued for multifamily housing units. Permits also were strong for new construction of office, retail, and industrial buildings, totaling more than 7.3 million square feet, with a value in excess of $850 million. The numbers that we want to go up are going up, and the numbers we want to go down are going down. I call that progress, right here, right now, in Johnson County. I want to share with you today some of the activities and decisions that have helped make our communities a great place to live, raise a family, and yes, retire. The 2016 county budget increased our financial commitment to Johnson County Library for plans to expand and improve that important community asset. Additional funding will allow Johnson County Parks and Recreation District to proceed with plans to open land and trails in our outstanding parks. And Johnson County Transit is accelerating mobility for our citizens by expanding our transportation options. Implementation of the 2015 Comprehensive Library Master Plan is investing in new libraries, with construction of the long-awaited Monticello Library to serve Western Shawnee, which should be completed in a few years. Relocation of the 87th and Lackman Library branch to the new Lenexa City Center, now being built, is a work in progress. Construction on the new library is expected to start in the near future. The master plan also proposes future expansion of library services in the Blue Valley area of Overland Park, the eventual replacement of the Corneth branch in Prairie Village, and future upgrades and improvements to other library branches. The library improvements go hand in hand with the recent completion of a major renovation at the Central Resource Library in Overland Park. And regarding expansion of our park system, the Park and Recreation District is moving forward with its own updated master plan to develop 3 park sites which have been owned but not available for public use. The locations total almost 3,350 acres and include Reekie Lake Park west of DeSoto, Cedar Niles Park on the western edge of Olathe, and Big Bull Creek Park near Edgerton. In addition, long-delayed maintenance and upgrades to existing park facilities will now be possible, as well as expansion of the Streamway Park system of pedestrian and bike trails. Over the past year, the district also dedicated 2 new park properties, Camp Branch Glade and Stillwell Community Park in southeast Johnson County. Both sites will eventually be connected to the future parks and the Streamway network. My congratulations go to the City Council and Mayor of Prairie Village, Van Trust officials, and the Johnson County Park Board for reaching agreement for parks to receive approximately 80 acres of the old Meadowbrook Golf Course property at 91st and Knoll to be maintained as public land benefiting all ages. It is destined to become the county's largest park inside the 435 loop in northeast Johnson County. Work also is well underway at the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center in Overland Park. The facility will serve as the new home to the Johnson County Museum, the theater in the park for non-summer productions, arts and recreational programs, and classes for all ages, as well as a permanent advanced voting location. The project is bringing a new chapter for the iconic King Louis building and the new visionary Arts and Heritage Center, with completion to occur roughly 1 year from now. As a partner with the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority, Johnson County Transit will be implementing job connector routes that will allow workers to move throughout the metro to jobs. Additional funding for special needs transportation services was also provided for Johnson County residents. Johnson County also plays a critical role in providing the safety net that links us together as a community, including our residents who suffer from mental health conditions. Far too many of them are ending up in our jails or hospital emergency rooms. In 2015, Johnson County Mental Health treated almost 9,200 clients. Approximately 2,200 of them, or almost 25%, involved youth 17 years old or younger. More clients were served last year with fewer mental health staff than a decade ago. Through local and national partnerships, Johnson County has become a role model for innovations and programs in providing proper preventive care or treating mental illness rather than criminalizing it. One positive step was taken last year when Johnson County joined the International Stepping Up initiative to raise awareness of the factors contributing to the overrepresentation of people with mental illnesses in our jails. Johnson County was one of 4 national launch sites to kick off that effort. Participants in Stepping Up in our community and hundreds of other communities throughout the nation are working not to do the easiest thing, but to do the right thing in helping the mentally ill. The Johnson County Co-Responder Program is another example of doing the right thing in partnership with local police departments. The first partners were Olathe and Overland Park Police. A mental health professional now joins calls with the police when it involves a person with a mental health issue. The Co-Responder Program allows intervention to provide immediate mental health services and keep the individual out of jail. Previously, the officer had no choice but to take the individual to detention or a hospital emergency room. In 2015, almost 1,200 calls for the co-responder were made to Olathe and Overland Park Police. Only 23 of those calls ended with the offending individual being booked into jail, and only 42 individuals were transported to the emergency room. That means slightly more than 1,100, or roughly 94% of the calls, were diverted to less expensive mental health services. Plans are in the final stages to expand the co-responder program to police departments in Lenexa and Shawnee. Expansion to other police departments in Northeast Johnson County is possible in the near future as well. All of these programs provide meaningful, cost-saving results. When a person suffering mental illness is in our jail, taxpayers are required to provide all medical services received or needed for that person. A recent count showed 17% of our prisoners in our jails received some kind of psychotropic drug. That's more than 100 prisoners on average per day. Tim DeWeese, our mental health director, will tell us more.
Really, police officers, in many occasions, are the first ones that come in contact with those individuals that are having a mental health crisis.
When the Overland Park Police get those crisis calls, they turn to Megan Younger for help. She's a social worker from the Johnson County Mental Health Center, and she's embedded with the police department. When we caught up with her, she was doing outreach with her partner, Officer Tom Carey.
The value of it is going and seeing these people in their environment and seeing, is their home or living situation habitable? Is it clean? Do they have food? Do they have utilities?
The idea is to get to people who've been in crisis before, in hopes of preventing another 911 call. Police can sometimes spend hours tied up in situations that really call for a social worker. Many times those calls end up with people either going to jail or to the emergency room, only because there's no other solution. But those are also the most expensive solutions, even though they're usually not the best options.
It's not a long-term fix. It's a short-term Band-Aid at that moment.
Megan can link them with the mental health resources they really need, while saving everyone time and money. In her first 18 months on the job, she helped the police avoid 41 arrests and 56 trips to the ER. According to the Overland Park Police, she saved officers hundreds of hours and city residents $270,000. Although many officers have gone through crisis intervention training, or CIT, on some calls, Megan can step in and diffuse a tense confrontation someone might be having with police.
Initially, they may go on scene and think somebody's being belligerent or obstinate or defiant, when in reality they're suffering from mental health or substance abuse.
The police aren't being put in the position of the mental health professionals because the mental health professionals there on site. 2, it resolves the situation quicker. And 3, it gets the person connected with the right system of care, and that's the mental health center.
Tim and the mental health providers deserve our thanks for serving as a beacon of hope in treating our residents with mental illness and addictions. Mental health care for all Kansans, inside and outside of our county, requires a commitment by the Kansas legislature to fully fund treatment programs in addressing the needs and services for the mentally ill. In 2015, Johnson County taxpayers, through the Mental Health Center, provided $6.4 million in uncompensated care to uninsured and underinsured patients with mental illnesses. Since 2008, the State General Fund allocated to serve the uninsured and underinsured has decreased by nearly 30%, resulting in increased demands and responsibility for funding placed on local taxpayers. I'm sure you all have read of the issues involving Osawatomie State Hospital. A second important facility whose future is uncertain is Rainbow Services, Inc., a provider of short-term treatment for individuals suffering mental illness or addiction problems. Rainbow Services, Inc. is a state-funded collaboration among the Heartland Regional Alcohol and Drug Assessment Center, Wyandotte Center, and the Johnson County Mental Health Center. In 2015, Rainbow Services, now known as RSI, served 2,057 individuals, including 228 diverted from Osawatomie State Hospital, saving the State General Fund an estimated $3.25 million. Additionally, 967 individuals either voluntarily committed themselves or were transported to Rainbow last year by law enforcement and did not end up in local emergency rooms or jails. That's treatment that makes sense. But state funding for the program has not been allocated beyond mid-2017. The continuation of RSI is important if we are going to provide those necessary services in the most efficient and cost-effective manner. Another example of cost-saving services in our criminal justice system is JIMS, short for the Justice Information Management System. Serving the District Attorney's Office, District Courts, Corrections Department, and the Sheriff's Office, JIMS is the only fully integrated criminal justice database in the entire country. The efficiencies created by the system change the way some of our county departments, offices, and agencies conducted their business. Attorneys can, with a touch of a keystroke, electronically file documents from their office or home 24/7 without having to come to the courthouse. In 2015, more than 252,000 documents were e-filed through the system, resulting in tremendous savings for all participants of the justice system, including our district courts. JIMS recently was voted the most dynamic criminal justice system in the nation by the nationally renowned MacArthur Foundation. The system also garnered the attention of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Tim Mulcahy, JIMS Director, and Robert Sullivan, Criminal Justice Coordinator, were invited to the White House to share the benefits of the JIMS system to pretrial services with other representatives in the National Criminal Justice Network.
When you go on statewide committees or you go across the country and look at other systems, then you go, oh my gosh, we were like that 10, 15 years ago. Thank goodness we're not like that anymore.
This is what it looked like in those days. In the back rooms of the Johnson County court system, court officials scrambled to find storage for all the paper files that were piling up. Today, paper is out, and e-documents are in. It's all thanks to the Justice Information Management System, or JIMS. You might guess it saved a lot of paper. In the last 5 years, instead of mailing legal notices, the court has sent out about 600,000 of them per year, electronically, in real time. Johnson County taxpayers have also saved money by not having to pay for additional storage space, and by having clerks available to do other things besides search for files.
Many years ago, when the state was in a recession and the Supreme Court was still in a recession, we had 15 vacancies that did not get filled in the clerk's office. And because of document imaging and e-filing, we are now able not even have to fill those.
The JIM system also saves money by virtue of its own efficiency. Everyone in the entire criminal justice system taps into the same database. A judge can electronically sign an order, and an attorney on that case can see it on his mobile device in real time. A sheriff's deputy can make an arrest, enter the information from their patrol car, and the suspect's probation officer can instantly see what happened.
By having one integrated system, you don't have 4 isolated systems, which is 4 times the expense, 4 times the maintenance, 4 times the support. It's just one big system.
There's even a version the public can see. Johnson County enjoys a major advantage over places where data is still entered manually.
You can imagine when you do a civil case, you have to put in all the parties' information. You have to take in the money. You have to schedule the court date, assign the judge for that, and that takes 30, 40 minutes. When we did the e-filing, from the 30 to 40 minutes, it's down to 20 seconds.
Thanks to Tim and his JIMS team for their hard work and high degree of professionalism. Streamlining the criminal justice network was not the only national attention getter in Johnson County in 2015. Our Public Health and Environment Department has long responded to the statutory responsibility of control of communicable diseases. That level of excellence was tested last year when the department completed a large-scale tuberculosis investigation at Olathe Northwest High School. More than 400 students and faculty were tested for TB in 3 separate clinics, attracting local, state, and national media coverage. The work on the TB investigation was a major factor in Johnson County Public Health and Environment being named the 2015 Local Public Health Department of the Year by the Kansas Association of Local Health Departments. The department, however, does far more in ensuring the health and welfare of our communities, schools, and residents, as Director Eugene Marsh is now most willing to share.
An important part of our work is really driven by data. And so we have work in the area of public health informatics.
Eugene Marsh is so passionate about getting health data, she sometimes takes to the street to gather it herself. Here she is, going door to door with Barbara Mitchell from her staff, talking to Johnson County residents for the Community Health Survey. But compiling information is just one of the things the Department of Health and Environment does. It runs clinics in 2 locations, providing women's and men's health services. This is where people can come to get vaccinated, whether they're traveling abroad, like these 2, or just bracing for the flu season, like this family. There's more.
We provide WIC services, which it's the Women, Infant, and Children Program, nutrition services for pregnant and breastfeeding mothers, as well as their infants and young children up to age 5.
The department looks out for young people in other ways. Heidi Stitz inspects child care facilities.
It's so important for children to have safe, affordable, quality child care when they need out-of-home care.
Steve Vogelsang inspects septic systems, making sure raw sewage doesn't leak into the environment. He also inspects pools, making sure they're safe to swim in.
Also, our household hazardous waste program, which really helps Johnson County residents dispose of hazardous materials that they have in their home that we don't want to go into the landfill. We certainly don't want to go into the stormwater drains.
The Department of Health and Environment does many things, but Johnson County residents can be assured If a communicable disease like TB breaks out again, like it did in 2015, their local public health system will be ready.
We often think that tuberculosis is no longer with us as a disease, but we know it is, so that we do have an extensive program to work with both individuals that have TB infection, and then we also work with people who have tuberculosis disease.
Additionally, congratulations go to LaJean and her team at our Public Health and Environment Department. Johnson County was recently named the healthiest county in Kansas, according to the just released annual county health rankings. Another vital service to our community is Johnson County MedAct, which handled 38,490 calls in 2015. That's an average of more than 100 calls per day. While transportation fees will generate almost $7.8 million in revenue, 61% of the cost for providing this important service will come from Johnson County taxpayers. In 2015, Medicare and Medicaid payments account for $2.9 million in revenue and $1.8 million of unreimbursed services. Of our non-collectibles, almost half represents Medicare and Medicaid unreimbursed services. Last year, MedAct entered into local partnerships with local medical providers to work together in providing a high level of emergency medical services through a new EMS System Medical Director program headed by Dr. Ryan Jacobson. The MedAct team is led by Ted McFarland.
The advantage of having a full-time medical director, one that works only for us, is that he has a lot of time to devote to making the EMS system in the community better.
Working in this fast-paced environment doesn't bother Dr. Ryan Jacobson.
There are people who are cut out to do emergency medicine, and there are people who aren't.
He's one of the people who is. That's how he became one of the top ER doctors in the region. Now, Dr. Jacobson is the medical director for Johnson County Emergency Medical Services. Before his arrival, the position was part-time, but Johnson County government partnered with 9 local fire departments and 6 area hospitals to make it full-time. Dr. Jacobson was once a MedAct paramedic himself. Now he responds with paramedics and fire crews to emergency scenes. He makes sure they follow best practices and oversees their continuing education. He does the same thing for county dispatchers.
They can offer bystanders instruction on how to do CPR. They can offer bystanders how to clear a choking airway.
Push hard.
Dr. Jacobson may have made his biggest impact in places like this. In 2014, he led the effort to expand citizen CPR training. It's called Johnson County HeartSafe. When bystanders apply CPR before the ambulance arrives, the survival rate for heart attacks goes up dramatically. Thanks to Johnson County HeartSafe, 40,000 people are newly trained in CPR and the use of automatic defibrillators. Before the program, bystanders intervened in 20% of heart attacks in Johnson County. Today, that number is up to 49%. As a result, Johnson County has one of the top heart attack survival rates in the country.
Lots of times we show up on a call and they've already been defibrillated and they're actually talking.
There's no question that more people are alive today through help from the EMS system because of the investment in a full-time medical director and the initiatives that he's helped start.
It also should be noted that the satisfaction ratings from those who received the MedAct services were at the 99% level in 2015. Congratulations to Ted, Dr. Jacobson, and the men and women who provide our emergency medical services. I would also be remiss if I didn't comment on the efforts of all of our county employees who go above and beyond the call of duty many times to give back to this community. Thank you for all your good work on behalf of Johnson County residents. Our future looks bright, but it is not without pending issues requiring tough choices and necessary decisions ahead. One issue involves expansion and improvements to the Tomahawk Creek Wastewater Plant at 435 and Mission Road in Leawood. This plant, built in 1955, handles about 40% of the current flow from that watershed, with the remainder flowing to Kansas City, Missouri for treatment. In 2015 alone, Johnson County wastewater customers paid more than $15.5 million to Kansas City, Missouri to treat in excess of 4.2 billion gallons of wastewater. As a result of an EPA settlement, Kansas City's rates will continue to move significantly higher because of a $4.5 million investment plan for infrastructure improvements to the treatment system, to their treatment system over the next several years. Plans are being reviewed to expand the Tomahawk plant to handle the entire flow and eliminate the future certainty of higher payments, as well as to upgrade the plant in order to address new EPA regulations improving water quality. Doing nothing in this situation is really not an option. Another issue is the aging Johnson County Courthouse in downtown Olathe. Multiple studies over the past decade have reached the same conclusion. Johnson County needs a new courthouse to replace the functionally obsolete, overcrowded facility with security, ADA, and safety issues. After years of discussion and analysis, there are really only two options. One is construction of a new courthouse with a 75-year lifespan for an estimated total cost of $182 million. The other option is to renovate and extend the continued use of the existing courthouse at a projected cost of $216 million over the next 13 years. A separate issue is construction of a coroner facility for $19 million to conduct autopsies and assist in public health, criminal, and prosecutorial investigations. A decision on these important issues is expected by the Board of County Commissioners by the end of April and will then be presented to Johnson County voters in November for their decision. Another topic of interest in Johnson County, counties across this state, and cities across this state is now being discussed by the Kansas legislature. About 2 weeks ago, I spent most of my day in Topeka testifying before Senate and House committee, considering two versions of bills concerning a property tax lid on local governments, cities, and counties. The House bill contained provisions that recognize the importance of local decisions are best made at the local level rather than at the state level. Exemptions for critical services were noted, and the bill allowed for a protest petition election. The Senate version required a special election even to fund critical services. I would like to share with you the same questions I ask to the committees. Do we really need a special election to respond to ever-changing public safety needs, to properly fund the sheriff or police operations, or to properly equip our municipal departments and fire districts to be able to protect property and lives? Should the legislature require a special election to make sure MedAct personnel with proper training and medical equipment to respond to a stroke, heart attack, accident, or other medical emergency? And do we really need a special election to provide important funding that will serve those with severe mental illness, keeping them from ending up in hospital emergency rooms or jails, both of those options at a much greater cost? And do we need a special election to provide state-mandated services we, the county, are required by the state to provide on behalf of the state of Kansas? The list includes courts, health and environment, juvenile community corrections, motor vehicle, and human services, to name just a few. The cost of those state-mandated services to Johnson County taxpayers in our current budget is $75.8 million of local tax dollars. Exemptions are also needed to address either state-mandated expenses which affect county budgets, such as CAPERS and Kansas Police and Firemen's Retirement System. In Johnson County, with 380,000 registered voters, a special election with a mail ballot would cost $800,000. The cost for a polling election would be slightly more than $1 million. These expenses would have to be included in total funding request just to cover the costs of the special election. Expanded exemptions would provide the ability for local governments to be timely, flexible, and targeted in securing economic development opportunities. If a tax lid had been in place, our county would have been severely limited in our ability to contribute $13 million in road improvements to support the BNSF Intermodal Facility and Logistics Park. That complex, totaling 4.8 million square feet of buildings either occupied or under construction, has created 800 jobs since opening in October 2013. A tax lid without exemptions will limit our ability to work with our cities in many ways, including our CARS program, which provides new construction and basic maintenance to major road corridors, a key in attracting and maintaining businesses in our community. Without exemptions, our ability will be at risk to support business creation and job growth through important business development programs such as the Enterprise Center of Johnson County. That activity, that center, has helped successfully launch new entrepreneurial startups and provided funding for the Women's Business Center that provides training, counseling, and other services to help women start and grow successful businesses. Another Enterprise Center entrepreneurial initiative was started a decade ago with creation of the Mid-America Angel Investors Program. Angel investors continue to provide private monies to new startup companies, bringing new jobs to Kansas. Its portfolio currently contains investments in 29 Kansas startups, with 22 located here in our county. Currently, there also is no allowance for population growth in the tax lid legislation. Even with a recession during the past decade, Johnson County grew by more than 90,000 residents. As our county and our cities will continue to grow, so will the cost of funding public services. Important public safety programs and economic development efforts will be negatively impacted by the proposed tax lid. You know, in recent years, much discussion from Topeka has focused attention on the necessity of economic growth and job creation for our state. It's obvious that our cities, in partnership with county government, have been successful in fulfilling those objectives. By investing in community assets that make our communities attractive for businesses to locate or to continue to grow and expand, we have been able to deliver those jobs that are so important. The question then needs to be asked: why would legislative leaders want to put brakes on economic growth and job creation by forcing cities and counties to make those economic development decisions with the restriction of tax lids and special elections? Success for our state cannot be achieved if our economic development hands are tied behind our backs. If you agree, I ask that you contact your legislators and encourage them to support our local communities and oppose the efforts to restrict or eliminate vital local programs. On your table is a card with contact information for your state senator and state representatives. If you wish to express your opinion, please do so in the next 24 hours, as the time for a decision is very near. Now, despite challenging decisions ahead, I believe our horizon clearly holds a promise of more job growth, more opportunities, and more generations calling Johnson County home. In a recent Wichita State University study, our county was projected to double its population in the next 50 years. Now, 50 years is a long time, but that means an average of 10,000 new residents a year. Johnson County's growth at that rate will be equivalent to a city the size of Manhattan, Kansas, every 6 years. That same study identifies only 20 counties in Kansas that will gain population, and the remaining 85 counties will see no growth or will lose population. The prediction indicates that a third of the population of the state of Kansas will be living in Johnson County by the end of that 50-year period. The study also predicts Johnson County will top the 1 million mark in population in 38 years. Some of you present today will probably be enjoying that milestone in celebration of the annual State of the County Address in 2054. Now, to my friends and critics who may think or expect it, I do not anticipate giving that speech. As I look forward to our future, if we continue to follow the examples of foresight and commitment that have built our strong community foundations, I only see success for our communities, opportunity for our citizens, and security for those who need our help. It's not easy sometimes, but our attention must remain focused on those things and decisions which will bear fruit for tomorrow. Our excellent K-12 schools were built because of a determination and understanding that only if our young people succeed can our communities succeed. The investment in our outstanding community college has made certain that at whatever age new skills are achieved, future economic success is within reach. Higher education and medical research opportunities, quality of life and community resources, whether libraries, parks, recreation opportunities, transportation options, or high-quality public safety services, all have brought to our community the success we enjoy today. But we must not forget that the investment made by those who have gone before us is the key that has opened the door of opportunity for each one of us. A door that was not easily unlocked without some sacrifice on their part. If we and the generations to follow are going to ensure our community's success, then it is our challenge to be responsible stewards of that which has been provided to us, and to have the courage and wisdom to build upon that which surrounds us today. Now, we have accomplished a great deal by learning and working together, investing wisely, reviewing choices, and making right decisions in setting our compass to an ever brighter tomorrow. We can be proud of Johnson County, where many of us grew up, or where we raised our kids or grandchildren, and where many of us may spend our retirement years surrounded by family, friends, and a wonderful community. But much remains to be done. But I think thanks to our collective efforts, we are heading straight into the future, ever stronger for the challenges we face, and ever blessed as a community of opportunity for all. So, let's continue to move forward together, right here, right now, in Johnson County. Thank you all, and have a terrific 2016.